Parker Burton. I think the only appropriate way to start this video is to have Parker Burton playing in the background, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be making this video. I don't know about you, but for the entirety of my life on this earth, I've only used Apple products. Ever since I was little, the first thing I ever got was an iPod Nano. Then I got an iPod Touch, and then I actually did get my first ever Android phone, which was an LG phone that had like this cool 3D feature. But that's only because my parents surprised me with it, and I couldn't say no to a free phone that was my first ever phone. But trust me, when I could afford it, I got my first ever iPhone, the iPhone 5, and then I got the iPhone X, and now I have the iPhone 13 Pro. Not only for the majority of my life have I just owned Apple products, my whole life revolves around the Apple ecosystem. Example number 1. Number 2, and I think I left my AirPods upstairs. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Where are they? Example number 3, my AirPods. And you can't forget about probably the most important Apple product that I own, an AirTag, because I am very forgetful. As you can tell, everything that I do on a day-to-day basis involves an Apple product in one way or another. And since my job is making videos and consuming media, I personally have found that Apple products for me are the way to go. But in case you aren't in the loop, around a month ago, a bunch of creators decided to switch over to Samsung. And that's pretty much why Parker Burton's in the background right now. He challenged a bunch of creators to switch to Android to see how it was, and I wanted to try it. So I ended up buying a Samsung S25 Ultra off of Amazon. Quick side note, if you guys ever buy something off of Amazon, you can get a really good discount if you buy it used, and it basically still comes brand new. I think I got this for like $300 off. Hey, that's a pretty good deal. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to see which phone I decided to keep as my daily driver, and hopefully you'll understand a little bit more about why I chose which phone. So let's get started. The hardest thing that I've had to do for this video is try my best to not compare the phones too much. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you gotta hear me out for this one. This is an iPhone 13 Pro. Obviously, it's not the latest and greatest phone from Apple. So me comparing the camera quality or battery life to a brand new phone that literally came out this year, right, S25, is definitely not fair. So the way that I'm gonna be approaching this video is trying to see which phone fits the best into my day-to-day lifestyle. First things first, whenever I get a new phone, I don't know about you guys, but I always put a screen protector and a case on it. This case I got from ESR, and I think it was less than $10 on Amazon, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty clean. One thing that I did notice was that in order for me to use MagSafe on the S25 Ultra, like the charger here that I have in my room or in my car, you have to have a case on it. Unlike my iPhone, which you don't need to have one. So that might be a downside for people out there that want to use MagSafe but don't like having a case on their phone. But like I said, for me, anytime I get a new device, I always like to protect it. I think I baby my devices a little too much when I first buy them, and eventually I don't care about it. That was my iPhone. Don't worry. The first thing I want to talk about is the setup process. Initially, I thought switching from iPhone to Android was going to be this crazy long task, and it was. Luckily, there is this app called Samsung Smart Switch, which basically, once you connect both phones to each other, it allows you to transfer all your information from your iPhone over to your Android pretty seamlessly. But I will say it does take a while. For me, it took around like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I definitely had to have them both plugged in. Also, with my carrier AT&T, I had to go to the store because on my iPhone, I have an eSIM, and I basically had to go to the store, get an actual SIM card for I think it was like $9 in order for me to fully commit and switch to the S25 Ultra. So the whole process of getting this phone actually up and running took me around a day and a half or so. Now, although I like to talk about tech stuff, I wouldn't call myself the most insanely tech savvy kind of guy. I'm more like your average consumer that likes to make videos around tech. So I approached this by knowing absolutely nothing about Android to see if the user experience as someone that is brand new to the ecosystem is easy and if I like it. But before we get into that, let me tell you a few things that I do genuinely love about this phone. Number 1, as you can see, the S25 Ultra is much bigger than my iPhone 13 Pro. Whenever I wanted to get a new iPhone, I always thought that the Pro Max sized was a little too big for me, but ever since I switched to the S25 Ultra for the last few weeks, anytime I switch back to my iPhone, it feels so small in my hand. And when I put it in my car, sometimes it's too big, like bro, it's in my field of view, I need to see. I do enjoy consuming media more on this phone because of the screen size than my iPhone. I've also noticed that the quality of the screen and the brightness on the S25 Ultra is much better than my iPhone 13, and let's be honest, was that hard to expect? effect. It's brighter, looks better, and the colors are pretty good. Next thing that I liked was the battery life on this thing. About a week ago, I flew home to surprise my mom for Mother's Day, and multiple times throughout the day, I checked the battery life on this thing, and to be honest with you, for how much I was using it and recording footage and video on this phone while constantly listening to music since 3 a.m. till when I got home, it did a great job. And I know for a fact that my iPhone probably would have died almost halfway through my day, but again, you have to understand that I'm comparing a 3-year-old phone, maybe 4 actually, to a brand new phone that I just got. The battery health on this thing is gonna be way better than my old crappy iPhone, but I definitely was pleasantly surprised with the battery life. And on a regular day when I'm not recording, this thing by the end of the day is around like 70 to 65% left of battery, which honestly is really good. Next thing I want to talk about is the camera. The zoom on this thing is crazy. I'm gonna put a video on the screen of when I was flying home over Salt Lake City, Utah. Look how far you can zoom into these salt mines from the sky. While I took that video, the zooming in and out and kind of like merging into the different cameras is a little choppy. And although there is an option to shoot in log, I really just wanted to shoot straight out of the camera app, as if I was a regular person that didn't really know how to color grade or color correct. How would the footage really look like? From the front facing camera to the back facing camera, I think these cameras are definitely better than my iPhone 13, but there is something about shooting on Android that I'm just not a fan of. Even on social media, when you look at 2 videos side by side, 9 times out of 10, at least for me, I can tell you instantly which one of them was shot on an iPhone or an Android. I'm not sure if it comes down to the camera or maybe that Android is a little bit more saturated, but for me personally, I have always leaned towards the way that video looks on iPhone versus an Android. But one of the features that I really liked on this phone was the generative AI feature, which basically allows you to remove certain people or things from your pictures, and it's actually kind of insane. As we can see, I recently took this picture at the 100 Thieves compound, and me and my friends were testing this out just to see how good the AI removal is on pictures, and as you can see, it's kind of crazy, dude. We fully removed the guy from the front. This is insane. I mean, his fingers are kind of like bending the wrong way, but that's besides the point. This is actually kind of insane. And then I took that same picture and decided to remove everybody from it. That's nuts. It did kind of mess up because now it's 1100 Thieves, but I think overall, dude, that is kind of crazy. From the original image to now this, that's kind of nuts. Now, again, unfortunately for me, I don't have the iPhone 16 Pro, so I can't necessarily try it on my iPhone 13 and compare it to the S25 Ultra. But I have seen other creators test both the generative fill on each phone, and I think it's been unanimously decided that Samsung is definitely better at doing the job. Something that I always missed on my iPhone was the fingerprint scanner. I've had issues with Face ID on this specific phone because sometimes it just doesn't work for some reason, especially if the top is like smudged with like, you know, fingerprint oils. Sometimes I have to clean it before the Face ID actually works. But not only does the S25 Ultra have its own version of Face ID, it also, come on, has a fingerprint scanner, which is definitely something that I wish the iPhone had, but unfortunately it doesn't. A big thing that I want to touch on is the AI features in the Samsung S25 Ultra. Over the last couple of months, I found myself relying on AI a lot more than I used to. I use ChatGPT on this thing like every single day. This thing has got some pretty nice features. I don't know if you guys know this, but I really like fashion. Sometimes I see somebody wearing a shirt and I want to know where it's from, and it's super hard to figure it out. But this is where the S Pen comes in. You could also do it with your finger, but I feel like it's cooler using the S Pen. For example, if we go back to this picture of this guy, if I hold down the home button and I circle his shirt, it will literally show me the shirt that he's wearing. That is crazy. And now that we have the S Pen in my hand, let me talk a little bit about this thing. I don't really get it. Maybe I'm not using it right, but I've never really had the need to use an S Pen until I was driving home from Costco and I saw this house. It kind of looked like a house from a movie that we all know. So you know what I decided to do? I put balloons on the house. Besides searching for like clothes with the S Pen because I think it's cool because I have a little pen, this is the only reason I've ever used this freaking pen. I've also heard that the pen on the S25 Ultra isn't as good on the S24 Ultra, which to be honest, I haven't really done much research between the difference of both pens. But why would Samsung downgrade for the next generation? That doesn't really make any sense. And actually, as of this morning, I recently discovered this. Google Gemini, which is actually the most insane AI. I think it's definitely better than ChatGPT. Just watch this. What am I currently looking at?
Okay, I see the Sony camera on a tripod. It's set up for vlogging or recording. with a microphone attached. Are you looking for tips on camera settings, or is there something specific you'd like to know about it?
What am I looking at right now?
That's a Final Mouse Starlight 12 Poseidon. It's known for being super lightweight and having a cool honeycomb design.
But that is definitely one of the coolest features on this phone. I also discovered that you can charge other devices with your Samsung with a setting called wireless power sharing. I don't know if you can see this, but I can literally charge anything. It's charging my AirPods right now. Anytime I see somebody with the Samsung now and my phone is dying, you know what I'm gonna ask next. So yeah, within the last 3 weeks of using this phone, those are definitely some of my favorite features that literally have opened my eyes to the world of possibilities on an Android device. But with every positive, there's always some sort of a negative. So now let's talk about a few things that I did not like about switching from iPhone to Android. First thing that comes to mind, Apple Pay is something that I always use. And for some reason, I don't know why, the card that I use on my Apple Pay said that my card provider didn't want to let me use it with Google Pay, which I don't really understand why. It didn't work. But why does it work on my iPhone and not on the Android? Maybe that's a me thing and you won't have the same issue, but that's something that instantly bothered me about switching over to Android. Next thing, and here come all the obvious reasons. iMessage. I lost the ability to use iMessage. Now, I live in a house with 5 other friends that all have iPhones, and we have a group chat for our roommates, and the whole time, obviously, I was unable to access that group chat. iMessage is something crucial that I use every day to communicate with the people around me or my family that live in a different country. And yes, I know what you're gonna say. Well, you could just use WhatsApp. The most frustrating thing is that 90% of the people that I interact with already have an iPhone. So for me to ask them to download WhatsApp or, hey, you know, you want to use Google Meets? Yeah. And the most obvious thing of all is that since I'm already integrated into the Apple ecosystem with literally everything that I own, nothing worked with my Samsung S25 Ultra. Now, I definitely recognize that if I was fully integrated into the Samsung ecosystem instead of the Apple ecosystem, things like this feature, where I click a button on my phone to find my iPhone, I know that you can do all these things on a Samsung as well. If you had a Samsung watch, if you had these Samsung buds. A lot of people in my shorts comments didn't really understand that I was joking when I said Android doesn't have Bluetooth. I know Android has Bluetooth, guys. I know Android has all of these features that are available on iPhone, but as someone that's coming from a full Apple ecosystem, obviously I do not have access to those things, which is why for me personally, the switch from iPhone to Android is kind of a silly decision to do now that I have an Apple Watch, AirPods, a MacBook. It would be silly for me to actually keep this phone. And thus being said, that's my answer. I will definitely be returning the S25 Ultra. It was a challenging month, but I did find it refreshing to use different features that are definitely not available on my old iPhone 13 Pro. But with that being said, we're gonna end this video off by doing something that I've been wanting to do ever since I started this challenge, and that is...
No! You're returning the Samsung?
I'm returning it!
Why?
You scared the frick out of me, bro. Dude, that scared the crap out of me. Big shout out to Parker Burton, because if he didn't start this little trend thing, I probably would not have tried a Samsung ever in my life. Come on, guys. Are we surprised? Tim Cook is calling. And the answer is yes. I will take an Apple sponsorship. As an Apple user, this was actually pretty fun to use. But if you're fully integrated into the Apple ecosystem like myself, just wait for the iPhone 17 to come out. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. I've never made a tech video like this, so I don't even know if it's gonna come out good. And would you look at that? My mom is FaceTiming me. I can't do that on an Android. So I gotta go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, Mom.